dude. No stress. Hey guys, and welcome back to Road Less Travelled, a podcast by Apple Distillery, where we talk to people who are just pushing the boundaries in their given field. And today we've got a pretty incredible guest. Best known for his work at Bulletin Place. He was a part of the opening team at RE. He's now opened an incredible, let's call it a pub/elevated gastronomical centre for seasonality and working directly with farmers known as the Waratah. He's also the co-owner of one of the best aperitivos I've ever had in my entire life, known as Rhubi. It's the amazing Evan Stroeve. Evan, how you doing, man?
Yeah, that was an amazing introduction.
Oh, thanks, man.
What did you say? Gastronomical center /
Gastronomical
/
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Would you agree with all those things?
Yeah, and that's what we should have gone to Broadsheet with.
What did you go to Broadsheet with for the Waratah? Like you've just opened this venue.
Yeah, neighborhood. It was always meant to be a neighborhood bar. It was a focus on cocktails, bar that did really good food, and it's kind of evolved a little bit. Upstairs has definitely become more of a restaurant, and downstairs you feel quite pubby. So I guess we're a jack of all trades.
Yeah, awesome. Was there something about because I remember speaking to you about it a while ago now. Was there something about the pub format and the kind of look of a pub which is, I don't know, inspirational to not quite Australiana, but Australian culture for you? Was that part of it when you were formatting the venue itself? You wanted to create that pub atmosphere to a certain extent?
Yeah, for a few reasons. The first one is the space itself. It's the corner kind of block with a wraparound terrace and two different levels, and it's got that pub feel. Regardless of what we would have done, it would have still kind of had those bones. And then secondly, as you said, there is something uniquely Australian about public bars. And it's something that we've all grown up with. We've all kind of, as freshly faced 18-year-olds, probably spent a bunch of nights too many in the local pub. And it's, it is kind of inseparable from the Australian heartbeat. So I've always loved pubs. I've worked in pubs, and the place looks like a pub, so we opened a kind of pub.
Yeah, sick. You've got this kind of beautiful two-story Queenslander feel about it to a certain extent.
Yeah.
When you walk past the Waratah, you're not I remember the first time I walked past it, I was like, "Fuck, that's a cool new pub." That looks fucking great. But my big thing is the cocktail program that you have inside has, from what I've seen, been inspired by not only your background, but also your ethos. How did you actually approach that when opening your venue? It's your baby. So did you bring a lot of yourself to it in that way?
Yeah. It's all the things that I'm passionate about, and all the things that my staff are passionate about when it comes to drinks. It's a respect for produce and a respect for the people that grow it. It's connection with those people, and it's a communication of those values that is in no way esoteric. We're not making drinks for ourselves. While there are techniques that are kind of modern and experimental and a little bit fun and out there, at the end of the day, you're not going to be weirded out. It's all meant to be approachable and familiar, just like anything you'd expect in a pub. We don't want to kind of create any barriers between us and the guests. So it's it's a respect for the produce and the singularity of Australian produce, and then just trying to channel that through the colloquialism of Australian service as well.
Yeah, awesome. The big thing that I want to touch on is you do and have done a lot of work with producers, really championing the people behind the things that you grow and trying to, I suppose, get that connection to land in a certain way through bars and through cocktail and also through wine. I think we have it in wine quite a lot, and it's a really strong story in wine, but it's not quite as strong of a story in spirit. What are the main challenges?
It's so strong in wine, right? It's, you go to a restaurant and you ask the soul about a bottle of wine, they can tell you everything about it, from how many generations the winemaker's been doing it, to the name of the winemaker's dog that runs around the field, to like, it's something, and it's something that's connected to food as well. There's such a big reverence for provenance in food, and maybe less so in drinks, but it's still, I think it's becoming a much bigger aspect of service, is kind of understanding not only where the produce comes from, but who it comes from, and then understanding that those stories amount to flavor in a certain way. Like if you you've got the best possible, perfectly ripe pineapple in a drink, it's gonna taste just that little bit better if you know that it comes from John and Mary from North Queensland in Bowen, and they've got a dog called Susie that runs around, and it's all those little stories are little flavor nuggets as far as it creates a connection with the product that wouldn't be there otherwise.
And I presume that there are some pretty significant challenges to working directly with farmers. What have you found as a owner and operator, and also, the cocktail maestro that you are? What have you found like are the biggest challenges when it comes to working directly with farmers, as opposed to maybe taking the I don't want to call it the easy road, because that diminishes how difficult running a bar is, but that kind of maybe less stressful road of working with an aggregator, working with someone who can just source it all for you.
And there's, the traditional route would just be to order things from the market. And then, but all of that produce comes from a lot of small scale growers anyway. It's their kind of mechanism to ensure that their produce is maximized to its fullest potential. So I don't have any issues with kind of that traditional route at all. And it's something we still utilize, because, you create this magical plan to work. We never said exclusively, but heavily and directly with growers themselves. When you're busy, and the busier you get, which we're fortunate to be, the harder that is. Your prep volumes go up, your systems need to be more efficient. If you're ordering, if you know the produce arrives on Thursday and that you have to order Sunday, then you have to there's a little bit of reading the future there and guessing how much produce you're going to go through. So it's not, philosophically it's great, but logistically it definitely presents some challenges. The biggest one for us, so for those who are listening and haven't been to the Waratah, there's 2 levels. Downstairs is your kind of service at the bar, super friendly, colloquial, lived-in space, right? And this is where we do our weekly menu. And the bulk of the produce to that, purely because it changes so often, comes from the market. And then it's subsidized through growers that we work with directly. So we've got growers in the Hunter Valley, Newcastle, etc., that supplement the kind of the base produce, so to speak. And that's fine in itself. Like that's what we were doing at Bulletin kind of every single day a week. So that's a kind of really easy process to teach people. Upstairs, however, we change, I want to say seasonally. There's no kind of locked in time frame, but it's just it's when we get our shit together, to be honest. But yeah, it is by necessity. By necessity, it changes with the season. When mango goes out of season or pineapple goes out of season, we're kind of forced to reevaluate. But the framework for this menu upstairs is that each time we change the menu, we focus on a different region within Australia. So when we opened in December, summer, loads of hype. Let's do tropical fruit from the Daintree far north Queensland region, which sounds amazing, right? You got chocolate, you got coffee, you got mangoes, you got all the amazing, delicious shit that everyone wants in their drink, and now I want to drink, but then when you compound that with weather issues and purely just being fucking ages away from the Daintree rainforest, it's really, really hard to work in a bar grower relationship when you're busy and the region you focus on is miles and miles away. So there's been times where we've had to not use the produce from the Daintree rainforest purely because we need to get those drinks back live. So there's logistical challenges, not just in terms of being busy, but also being quite a distance away from these guys. So, I mean, I guess that's probably a testament to not only buying small but buying local, which is the angle we're taking from the next menu. So rather than going far north Queensland, we're working directly with Hunter Valley growers. So that menu should launch next month, and hopefully skip some of those logistical issues.
Yeah. Have there been challenges with logistics with even just trying to work locally with people as well?
Not as much. Not as much. There's we've got a plethora of WhatsApp chats with everyone, and they kind of give us weekly updates. So with those weekly updates, then we can kind of put pen to paper and plan a little bit more. I think the longest turnaround time is maybe 2 days, 3 days for delivery. So that's fine. That gives us kind of enough scope to work with. But yeah, of course, locals definitely easier. But yeah, and it's probably result in a better product anyway. The closer things are grown to where you work, you assume the fresher they'll be, and they'll probably speak to the land that you're on a little bit more than the far-flung regions of far north Queensland.
Yeah, 100%. And especially for a place like yours, which represents Australian produce, so proudly, I think it's a really interesting thing to then kind of champion what's around Sydney, as opposed to championing something that's, in far north Queensland, which not any bar in the country can do. And I'm not suggesting that at all. But like, if you're buying pineapples from far north Queensland and representing it in Melbourne, it's not really a representation of Melbourne. You know what I mean? Because it's
if you were to kind of champion different regions of a country like Italy, significantly more feasible because smaller than Australia. That as soon as you kind of widen or broaden your scope in Australia, then you're essentially working in a different country because it's so fucking huge. It's also the trap heading right as well. Australia is like home to so many different climates, which then grow so many different items of produce. It's like being able to shine a spotlight on each of those was the inspiration for the menu concept. But yeah, I guess when we think about it, so it's got as many microclimates as a small section of Europe would.
100%. Yeah, that's absolutely nuts. Now, with Bulletin Place, where you were changing the menu every single day with what was available in the market, what are you taking in terms of the learnings from that within the seasonality requirements that you've applied to your beverage program at the Waratah?
The lessons from Bulletin Place would be understanding, or I guess the overriding lesson there's two. The first would be understanding that you don't kind of rise to your goals, you fall to your systems, right? If you don't have the systems and templates in place to change the menu that often, then it all becomes quite complicated and quite, diluted, and the workload becomes too much. So ensuring that you have systems in place, like, ratios for drinks that act as a bit of a springboard. Like our recipes are never the same, but having that kind of starting base is really important, particularly for younger bartenders. If they know that a sour cocktail is going to be 50-20-20, then they can start to think about their ingredients in terms of sweet, sour, and base, and just having that framework, maybe a little bit constrictive at times, but it also gives you somewhere to start. So ensuring that those systems are in place, big lesson. And the second, I think, with Bulletin was that I think 90% of the time, it's better to let produce speak for itself. We're creative people. Bartenders are creative people. I have spent years in bars that are fully equipped with labs and fermentation rooms, and it's all wonderful and it's all contributed to where I am. But I think the downstairs bar at the Waratah is a return to those values that say or speak to the fact that produce, when it is in its most optimal state, very rarely needs anything added to it.
Do you think that comes down? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and that's just something that we're trying to kind of communicate downstairs. Yes, we can elevate things with technique, which is what we're doing upstairs, but downstairs, if that summer yellow peach is absolutely glistening in its prime, maybe we don't need to cement it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Do you think like some of that comes down to like young bartenders, or maybe some of the common mistakes that people make when they do look at a yellow peach that is at the peak of its ripeness and the peak of its freshness and the peak of its flavor? Do you think that some of those mistakes where young bartenders or inexperienced bartenders might go like, oh yeah, let's ferment it instead of just letting it shine? Do you think that comes down to like maybe ego or wanting to showcase technique over just maybe giving the ingredients? I'm gonna use some psychology language here. Maybe giving the ingredient a little bit of grace and a little bit of space to just shine and do its thing. Do you think that comes down to ego or something like that, or like what do you think the reason is?
Yes, I think I don't know if it's ego. I think it's a cultural thing. It's a shift in values, for better or worse. And I suspect probably for worse. And that shift is that drinkability and accessibility are no longer the supreme value in making drinks. And I think creativity has become the supreme value. And you know what that looks like is a Instagram feed that changes every single day, or bars don't necessarily want to replicate drinks anymore. You think of Bacardi Legacy, that was their whole model, was create a drink that's able to be replicated. And I think there's a reason that competitions like that aren't running anymore. It's because that's not what people want to do, particularly in a landscape where the kind of creative goalposts change every single day. Like there's always a new recipe, there's always a new technique, there's always a new bartender, new content, new photography, new ideas, which is great. However, I think within that framework, you begin to lose sight of what will actually keep you in the job and make you money. As at least as a business owner, your fresh produce and drinks that people recognize but still executed perfectly with perfect technique, frozen glassware, handling glassware properly, round building, all of those basic principles will result in a really amazing drink that people will want to probably drink more than 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's ego. I think it's just maybe it's a different generation of bartenders that are growing up with different values.
Now, speaking of technique, yeah, 100%, man. I'm feeling you. Speaking of technique,
if I get a little bit too old man ranty, please let me know.
Mate, it's all good. No, I love it. I go for gold. Go for the jugular. That's what I'm here for. But speaking of technique, you went from Bulletin then to the opening team at RE under Matt Wiley. And what learnings did you take from, opening up RE with arguably probably one of the foremost creative minds in cocktail today, into the Waratah? Because seasonality, of course, will play a huge role in what will be available at RE. So are you still using some of those kind of closed loop techniques when it comes to Waratah as well? Or is that something that's kind of put on the back burner? Now that you got your own place, you got your own canvas to paint on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we probably approach it a little more like, chefs would. Chefs, it's almost like reusing waste is kind of written into their standard operating procedure. Whereas RE, it was very much the kind of flag that we were waving, and with good reason, because bars are incredibly wasteful and have been for, decades, forever. It's less of a business card for us. It's more of just something we do. Because it's the conscientious thing to do, and B, because it also saves money, doesn't it? Like, the more that you can get out of one ingredient means the less of another ingredient you have to order. But when it comes to sustainability, it's more about the supplier, about that food chain. It's working directly with producers to ensure what they have in abundance is used, rather than ordering what we think we need from the markets. It's what do you have, then how can we use it, and then use it, rather than what do I want to use, where can I get it, and then get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just a slightly different approach to reaching the end goal.
And I think, look, the amazing thing about RE was that it taught us how to navigate things logistically. If you've only got X and Y that you can use, then you have to kind of be really switched on with your technique and your ways of processing that. But also you have to always be plugged in. You have to always be switched on and aware of the kind of ebbs and flows of the market, and be in contact with people there, so you know what's being wasted, and then you kind of reactionary in terms of what you do with drinks. I think the marriage of Bulletin Place and RE have resulted in the Waratah.
Yeah,
it's easy to look at downstairs and think, it's Bulletin Place, but when you look at the menu and the equipment and the things that we do with the drinks up here, you can see that it is this extension of seasonality that perhaps Bulletin Place wasn't, but RE was.
Do you guys do any foraging at the Tar as well? Are you guys like going out and actually like foraging for produce?
We're busy, so not as much.
Yeah. Do you not get out and forage? Do you not get out and forage as much as you'd like to?
I don't forage as much as
Yeah.
We have plots though. We've got, there's lemon myrtle trees everywhere. We're using paper bark from around the corner in a upcoming drink. But if you're constantly hitting those sites, then it's not really foraging, is it? You're just kind of,
no, you're just wrecking an ecosystem,
extracting valuable resources from an ecosystem. There's a few community gardens scattered throughout Sydney that we use. There's one in Annandale. There's a couple in Marrickville. When we opened, we got a lot of produce from there. But that's kind of, we haven't been doing as much of that lately. It's something I'd like to get back into. And Sydney's perfect for it. You go to Paddington, you can find lemon geranium littering the streets. You go to Redfern, you've got Geraldton waxflower growing out of some dude's backyard. You've got passion fruit vines hanging over the trees in Annandale. There's so much to use. But then it's just finding the time to...
Yeah, it's finding the time to actually...
Yeah, and it's hard work here, man. Like, you got we're 5 days a week. You got 2 days off. Do you really want to spend your time, not seeing friends and not going out for dinner? Would you prefer to spend it foraging? Maybe you do, and that's totally cool. Do you want to go foraging before you get to work? It's just adding another 3 or 4 hours to an already really busy work. So, I think we need to. There's probably a way to do it logistically, whether we all go out as a team and do it once a month. It's probably the trick, and just preservation.
Yeah, 100%. Now, Waratah's your first venue that is yours that you've opened. You've been part of venue opens before, so you kind of knew the groundwork of what it takes to open a venue. What were some of the preconceptions?
No, I didn't.
Oh, no?
Nah, I thought I did. Done. Like, it's...
Yeah, really? What were the biggest challenges, man?
I've spoken about this a few times, but the jump between venue management, whether you're a, ops, venue, general manager, whatever, and ownership and going through the throes of navigating a DA, you know, all your town planning stuff, all your, you know, construction certificates, all that stuff, legal things, completely foreign territory for me. No one trains you on that because there's no reason to train you on that. So completely out of my depth, and it's the most out of my depth I've ever felt, which is, I'm sure, a very good thing, but I wasn't ready for it. No way.
Yeah. Oh no. And were you like reaching out? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was No. I was reaching out to you know, that's the beautiful thing about hospitality. We all know each other, we're all friends, and we've all got you know, decades of friendship with each other. I had a really good support network. Matt was great. Tim Phillips, my business partner, and Rhubi was really good. And that was all, you know, hugely beneficial for me, having that support network. But yeah, I still had no fucking idea what was going on. Well, there's a lot of acronyms.
Yeah.
There's a lot of acronyms that I just don't. Yeah.
Like what? Like what?
PDA, DA. All it it's just it's a completely different side of hospitality that I'm very, believe it or not, very comfortable with now. But
yeah,
you know, 12 months ago when this journey started, learning curve.
Yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve. What would you say to pre-Waratah Evan Stroeve? Like, what would the advice be to someone who is looking to open their own venue? And like, if you could speak to the younger version of you, what advice would you give yourself? Like pre-tar, post-tar.
Get a town planner early and meet your neighbours.
Yeah. Why? So town planner early? Why? Why is that?
Just because it takes a lot of pressure off your shoulders, and then you have someone who can, you know, he can take on a lot of the submissions that you need to do, and then they're kind of floaty when you're drowning.
Yeah.
Don't you can just entrust them to get things done and explain things when you do feel like you're out. We were lucky. We had a really good one, and then getting to know your neighbours. Inner city Sydney is amazing, and there is a incredible feeling of connectedness within the neighbourhood and businesses and whatnot. But there is always concern when a licensed venue pops up next door to you. So we had a bit of kickback from neighbours, which was completely justified and understandable, because they, you know, who are these two randoms coming in, setting up this tea cocktail bar in the corner? I get it, but you know, I think there's something to be said about establishing a healthy relationship with them from the get-go. And that's all good now. Now that we're here, they kind of understand who we are. We haven't had a single complaint about anything. But yeah, I think kind of establishing that.
Yeah. Did they have a lot of concerns about like what kind of venue it was going to be? Because do like neighbours just see the license and go like, oh no, we've got two young people setting up a club? Is that like what?
It's one size fits all for sure.
Yeah, okay. So they just kind of have that assumption straight away, and they don't. And you're like, did you feel that you had to like pitch the idea to your neighbours in order to get them over the line?
Yeah. So it's, during the process, you apply for your DA. Your DA goes up for a public submission, and then that's the neighbour's opportunity to submit anything to council that they're concerned about. So,
right.
So that's what happened. I think we got 6 or 7 kind of submissions, and it was all, you know, focused on outdoor hours and waste management, all these legitimate concerns. But you then have the opportunity as a business owner to respond to those concerns. So yeah, there was a bit of bit of back and forth and a bit of explanation on, this is our vision and this is what we want to do with the space, and we're not going to be up until 3 a.m. doing pingers on the rooftop. Like it, no, unless you let us. I don't know.
Yeah. Did you Oh wow. Yeah. Jesus. And so you no, not at all. No, not nah, we'll fine. I think we've all done pingers on a rooftop before, and if you haven't, I mean, I don't recommend it, but it is fun.
That's it. We'll be young.
Yeah, 100%. The so you've had to like deal with neighbors and get over all of that stuff. When the doors opened, did you have a kind of sense of relief that like, okay, doors are open, or was it like doors are open, now the real challenge begins?
No, I wasn't ever a sense of relief at all. I think I'm only really had a sense.
Oh no!
But it's natural. It's like you've invested so much time and effort in these things. You're your own biggest critic. This is something my mum said to me, actually. She said, you are always your biggest critic. And it's true. It's like when you open, it's never going to be perfect. But you're the first person to see those imperfections. So there was a degree of like, this is chaos. This is not as good as I want it to be. And I think any business owner probably has that, those feelings at the start. But it's something that I don't feel anymore. Like I feel we've all kind of found our rhythm and everything's as it should be. There's always things to change and things to improve on, but the core team's there, the soul's there, the heart's there, the culture's there. But getting those doors open, it wasn't a relief. We lost the music, we lost the aircon, we lost the playlists, we lost the docket printers, all on the first night. So.
Really? What happened?
Yeah, it was just everything. It's like, if it's going to happen at any time, it's going to happen the first day you open, isn't it? It's just the way.
Yeah, it's Murphy's Law.
It's Murphy the wank is big. Everything's going under. No, it was a comedy of errors. It was just, there's nothing you can do about it. So we were running down with stick-it notes and handwriting food orders and sticking them up on the kitchen thing, and then. So I mean, if you look at where we are now versus where we are then, it's so much. I'm so much better.
Yeah, it's big growth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's also we've been really fortunate. We opened in December, which is chaos at the best of times, let alone when you're a brand new venue. And then January was busier than December, and February was busier than January. So it's like, despite being really kind of busy all the time, we've been able to kind of smooth everything out. So great.
And you're doing all of this whilst being the co-owner of an aperitivo brand at the same time.
Yeah. Truth be told, my day to day when it comes to Rhubi is really kind of painless. Like Tim, Dave, and I. So Tim Phillips, who used to own Bulletin Place, Ringer with his business partners Rob and 80, and Dave Hobbs, who used to run Milk and Honey, ran Bulletin, and ran the company for many years. We started Rhubi as a passion project. It would have been 3 years ago now, and it's grown and grown and grown to the point where we now have distribution through Vanguard and directors meetings every now and then. But the productions, we don't do productions on in Victoria at the minute, so there's really not a whole lot for me to do. There's site visits and whatnot. That's all done by Vanguard. The production is done by a company that we've been working with forever and trust deeply. So besides a couple of planning meetings and coming up with some signature serves and shooting some footage and content every now and then, I'm pretty chill with Rhubi, man. It's
that's
great
awesome,
for it, and it's good for itself, and it's growing each year. It grows and grows and grows. So we're in a happy place with that. But, it's not as big a stress contributor as
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Where did the inspiration come from that? Because I've read obviously a lot about Rhubi, but I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Like, where did the idea for Rhubi come from?
I can pinpoint the exact moment in time. So David Dilwer, Noma Fermentation Lab, this kind of zeitgeist of fermenting everything that is possibly fermentable was seeping its way into venues, right? And we were trying to figure out at Bulletin Place how to work in processes that take, not just days, but weeks, months, and time to age and rest and settle. How do we work these products and this process, which is valuable and, it adds flavor and is interesting, into something that changes rapidly, the daily menu or the weekly menu, I think, towards the end. But how do we bring these two concepts together? So we were playing around with fermentation. We would make kombuchas or making fruit wines that we then leave for 6 months and let them age, and using different yeast strains and making mead and all these different things. It was like this kind of mental lab upstairs with heaps of gross jars and shit like everywhere. and one of those things was just a really short, sharp rhubarb ferment. So it was sugar and diced up rhubarb and some different spices and herbs and stuff. And it was just to develop a bit of funk and a bit of acid, and then we fortified that with vodka that was infused with rhubarb, and that was really the genesis of what is this rhubarb Mistel. So a Mistel traditionally is, apple. It's a fruit juice, either fermented or unfermented, fortified with a spirit made from that same fruit. So in France, you're looking at Pinot de Charence, which is grape juice and cognac, or Armagnac grape juice and Armagnac, or apples and Calvados pear. So that's essentially the framework. And then we said, okay, why don't we do this with rhubarb? And we used to have bartenders come in on their breaks, and we'd get to taste it, pour out a couple of shots for people, and people seemed to respond really well to it. And from that, it just organically grew, and we built a brand and a company around it, and brought people on who were a lot smarter than us when it came to marketing and brand development and stuff.
Yeah.
And now we're 3 years on, and we're in Dan Murphy's vintage cellars and plans to kind of expand even further. So cool. It's really cool. Yeah. I still remember the first time we went out, we had no distribution, and it was all like, we'd have 2 pallets dropped to Bulletin Place, have to get the entire team in to lug the boxes up the stairs, put them in the attic, and then Tim and I would go around and kind of get pissed on rhubarb Mistel, giving people tasters around the town, and that was how we sold our first bottles.
Yeah,
it's very much a small business kind of origin story.
Yeah. It's fucking sick, and I love it. I think it's so freaking delicious, and I'm so excited and this is my shameless plug moment, doing an event with you on Wednesday, the 10th of April. And we've got some in the menu, which I'm really, really excited about. It's going to be absolutely delicious. So come on down to the
someone else to use it.
Yeah. Count me in. I'm fucking doing it. I'm here for it, mate. So yeah, come on down for that. You will see that on socials, and we'll link the event in the description below. Oh, I love saying that. That's always fun. But for you, what are the elements of, because you built Rhubi from the ground up, and what are the elements of like making a great aperitivo? Like we talk a lot on this podcast, a lot about gin, and we make an aperitivo ourselves from native Australian ingredients. But what in your mind makes a great aperitivo?
I think it's simplicity. Like the beauty of aperitivo culture is that it is just that. What's more simple than sitting in the sun, some cheese, charcuterie, tapas, small bites, little things come out, and that's paired with something that's gloriously effervescent, rippling with bitterness and acidity. It's they're so beautifully simple, and I think overcomplicating that is not the right thing to do.
No. Oh, did you send what you just said to Broadsheet? Rippling with acidity. Oh, that was some saucy language just there.
a textural rhapsody.
Oh, yes, chef. How good. Now,
You can have that.
now you were in 2021. You won world class, and you got to travel a little bit of the world. Because it was held in Madrid, Barcelona.
It was held in London, but it was held in London. But it was during COVID, so I got to travel to Alexandria to jump on a Zoom.
Oh yeah, okay, well, not as fun. Yeah, no, damn it. But
No, it was honestly, and what an experience, and one of the most important parts of my career in terms of opening doors and career growth and all of that. It's
yeah. No, it's banging. But my big question, and I don't work for Diageo at all. No, I don't really care. But a lot of people out there and a lot of the bartending community do care about what makes a great world-class drink. Like what was your secret to success? I'm sure you've told people this before in writing, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah, we've got a couple of bartenders entering at the Waratah. It is, my advice would be to not invest all of your energy and focus on the drink. There is so much more to it. There is your philosophy, your communication, your storytelling, all of those things, and then you can come up with the most groundbreaking, incredible piece of technique. And if your capacity to communicate and tell that story isn't there, then it's not worth anything. It's a competition that challenges all the aspects of your bartending pedigree, from your ability to make a drink, and then your ability to make quickly if you make the speed round, your ability to think on your feet with a mystery round. There's always a storytelling round. So don't focus too much of your attention on one little aspect of it. Second piece of advice would be that it is always a question of how many marks can they take away from you rather than how many marks you can gain. If you the metric for your success in this comp and in any comp, I think, hopefully, is being provided a full set of criteria. If you hit every single, like an essay or an exam or something, if you hit that marking rubric, if that is your sole focus, then you can't, like it. It is, that's all you need to succeed at is ensuring that those 10 out of 10s, 5 out of 5s, 20 out of 20s, ensure that they're all done and you're good. You're not you're not competing for the funniest anecdote, and you're not competing for the best drink. You're competing for who can complete that set of criteria. That's what I would say.
Yeah, 100%. Just approach it like HSC and you'll be fine, mate.
Yeah, which sounds really romantic, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does. But it sounds very romantic.
True. It is.
Yeah,
it's true. You tick the boxes and then doors open.
Yeah, 100%. Now, speaking of doors opening, you would have had the wonderful privilege to travel a little bit for work and with the work that you do. What's been the most inspiring overseas journey that then you've been able to bring back to Australia and showcase in a way through the work that you do?
I've done quite a bit of travel. Very fortunate to have done that too. It's, Australia's in the middle of nowhere, and I think getting overseas for a lot of people is difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think the most kind of formative experience for me was London. I've been to London 5 or 6 times, and I was lucky to do a stage at a place called the Drink Factory, which was kind of the first to use a lot of these pieces of equipment. So your rotovapes and your centrifuges and all that. As a young bartender at Shady Pines, fucking different world, right? Completely eye-opening. But that really kind of triggered this desire to learn more and do more creatively. That was a big kind of turning point for me. So if you can find somewhere and you have the time and the resources to do a stage somewhere that you think will elevate you and inspire you, do it. it's easy to get stuck inside four walls of the venue. So if you can justify getting over to go see somewhere and actually spending some time with people, watching and learning how they do. Yeah, usually they pay you as well. Well, I know a lot of stages don't, and that's another conversation. But I think it's beyond the financial, remuneration. I think it's really valuable. Where else? Peru's such a fucking gastronomic powerhouse. It was the first time I've really eaten anywhere that this was kind of before, just as a starter bartender, went to Peru. And it was the first time I kind of ate was it hatted? It was the first time I'd eaten at like a hatted restaurant. It was like mind blowing from a boy from Bathurst.
Yeah.
And, he grew up in pubs. It was amazing. So
yeah,
Peru for its kind of gastronomic culture, and then obviously Paris. I went to Paris 2 years ago, and pretty much spent the whole time eating and drinking. So highly recommend.
Oh, mate, for me too. I lost my mind. In Paris. It's awesome. Oh man, it's so good.
Everyone's cool too. Everyone's so cool.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
The food's banging. The music's great.
The wine's incredible.
Culture and history.
The people are really annoyingly friendly.
Yeah, if you could manage to dig yourself out of the numerous wine lists to go and see some historical, cool cultural stuff, and even better.
Yeah, 100%. Now, bringing it back to Australia, you've also travelled a little bit around Australia and have done quite a lot of work with a whole bunch of communities. What's been an experience in Australia through travel or exploration that has also inspired you?
My community networks are really kind of built on people I've known for a long time. So it's not a case of kind of going out and spending weeks and weeks with a particular community. It's just with things that have kind of grown and developed naturally over time. So I'm inspired, when it comes to Australia, I'm inspired by chefs like Ben Stroeve and Jake at Arc in Restaurant Botanic in Adelaide, and rest in peace, trailblazing Jock Zonfrio as well. He, the how do I phrase it? Their ability to recognize the importance of First Nations produce in the cultural tapestry of our country changed food and drink for us forever. Obviously, this produce has been there for many, many thousands of years, but you need people to recognize that there's so much knowledge and history attached to these food items to then be able to translate them into something that is authentic and tells a story. And these guys were, particularly Ben and Jock, were the kind of first guys. So, any knowledge that I have of this stuff obviously owes itself to the First Nations people of Australia primarily, but also the people who are able to recognize it.
Do you think that people, do you think that people, like the general consumer, should be told more about that kind of stuff, or what do you feel is like the gap in delivery that might prohibit people from understanding how important that kind of endemic botanical structure is to the story of Australia?
I think that of course there should be more efforts to educate people, but then you also have to ask yourself the question: how much is 50-year-old Joe Bloggs who goes to work 12 hours a day and goes to Coles and buys stuff, like how much do people care, right? And we care because we're in hospitality and we use this produce, and we're constantly trying to attach some kind of meaning and identity to Australian food and drink. So of course we care, but how much does the everyday consumer care? Probably not as much as they should. So I think taking the impetus off them to be taught or for them to learn and shift the logistics and mechanics of supply is more important. right? And this is a conversation that we've been having for years and years and years. The representation of First Nations people in their produce supply chains is reprehensible. It's, there was a study 5 or 6 years ago that said it was 2%. I'm sure it's more now. You'd hope it's more now.
Yeah, I think it's around 3%, mate.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
fantastic. For businesses, it's about ensuring that you either purchase directly from First Nations growers or businesses, or people who create employment opportunities in regional areas. It's about doing your research into those companies. But that's a really, really, really small wedge of the problem. The big problem is that a lot of the export market for macadamias, single etc. And a lot of this produce is now being grown overseas. There's finger limes being grown in Thailand. There's Davidson plum being grown in California. What that signifies is that maybe the issue isn't, it's definitely not hospitality is to solve, but it is concerning that the produce that has defined our country for the last 50,000 years doesn't involve the people who possess kind of the intellectual property of it. And so, what's the solution? I mean, it's multi-layered and there's many elements, but I think as a nation, if we were to kind of utilize our purchasing power a little bit more to involve First Nations businesses, and that's a big step in the right direction. Mainly the big dogs, mainly the exporters and the woolies.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. Yeah,
you guys are doing a lot of work with this as well. I know Brendan works a lot with rural communities and First Nations communities. So this is nothing I'm sure you're
unaware. No, 100%. It definitely isn't. And some of the, I don't know. I've been privy to some pretty crazy anecdotes. I think the two most nuts ones were one that I already told you about, Davidson plums, which was we met this grower up in Mila Mila, and we were like, how did you survive the 1990s when no one wanted native Australian produce? And he was like, oh, that's super easy. Coles and Woolies took it all, because they took Davidson plums, which were this undervalued fruit, incredibly high in antioxidants and vitamin C, and used it in all of their muesli bars and muesli, all the Forest Fruits muesli bars. Uncle Toby's took it for fruit roll-ups because it was incredibly cheap and incredibly high in vitamins. So they were able to keep their heart foundation ticks on things that were just basically sugar rolls. And then, and then the other one was in the 1970s, kangaroo apple was transported in bulk to China for contraceptives. But I won't go into that one.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, man.
I knew the kangaroo, like the kangaroo paw, kangaroo berries. The berries that come off the kangaroo.
The kangaroo apples. Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, I knew that was traditionally a contraceptive. I didn't realize it was something that was being.
Yeah, so kangaroo apple. When you when you take the leaves, you can brew them into a tea that has quite a high level of progesterone, so you can use it to not become pregnant. And then the fruit, when it is ripe, is full of estrogen, so you can eat it to become pregnant. So it's a contraceptive. It's a plant which has been bred for its contraceptive properties for 50,000 years. And so one of the most affordable and cheapest ways that they were able to make the birth control pill was by taking this leaf and basically boiling it down into a paste and then pressing it. That was nuts.
Amazing.
Nuts, dude. Anyway, mate, last question for you before I let you go.
Hit me.
What's next, man? What's on the horizon for you? What have you got coming up that you're really excited about?
Tell you what, I'm going to go to Japan for a holiday. That's probably the next thing on the horizon.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and get back to Bathurst to see some family. And then there may be something else in the works towards the end of the year that is also 4 walls.
Hey, that's so cool.
mean, I can hint at it.
Okay. Man, that's so exciting. So you're building your own little empire.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the same kind of golden thread that runs through everything here will also run through there. And it's something that I think the best companies in Australia will do, whether it's Schoolhouse or the Mature Group. Every venue they open is uniquely them, and has their culture and creativity attached to it. So if that's something that we can do here,
Man, 100%. Dude, thank you so much for your time. If you are still listening, come along to an Applewood times Waratah event on April the 10th. It is a Wednesday evening. We are going to be doing Australiana out the wazoo. Super Duper Gimlets are making a return, which I'm very excited about. And you will be able to see, I think, both of us behind the bar. Are both of us going to be behind the stick for that evening?
I might be in front of you.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Let's No, I'll be
hell yeah.
I'm going to go and organise
Yeah, we got a meat raffle going on.
So also the meat raffle going. It'll be heaps of fun.
It's going to be heaps of fun, mate. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your day.